Donald Trump emphasizes school choice and gives a middle finger to terrorists in his State of the Union address 2020.
Doors closing.
The President of the United States!
And the president does give this speech with the certainty that he will be acquitted tomorrow. It would take a 2/3 vote to remove him. And at this point, it looks like it's going to be a vote that comes down largely on party lines.
And Nancy, you see the Speaker of the House just tried to shake the president's hand and he refused or perhaps did not see her hand. As I mentioned, there's a lot of tension between the two of them.
And he did not extend his to her.
You know, honestly, I really didn't think it was anything special from this State of the Union. It was the typical political jargon, you know, talking about all of these special people and all of these guests that he had. And, you know, so in terms of that, I really wasn't surprised. I wasn't wowed at all by that stuff, even though some of them actually stood out, and we'll get into one of those situations a little bit later. But overall, I mean, what did you expect from the State of the Union? The bottom line is the country is better than it has ever been in many cases, and better than it has been in the past 50 years in other cases. So the bottom line is the State of the Union is like no other. I mean, the country is doing very well. We have very low black unemployment. We have very low youth unemployment, women unemployment, Hispanic unemployment. I mean, over 7 million jobs brought back. There's companies that's flooding the United States once again since the corporate tax rate was lowered from 35% to a more comparable 21% on the world stage. You know, illegal immigration is down. There were, I think, in 2018, it was reported 120,000 illegal immigrants were removed or arrested. So, I mean, things are really doing well. I mean, the GDP is doing well. Consumer confidence is high. The child tax credit has been doubled. From the new Tax Cut and Jobs Act, from $1,000 to $2,000. You know, things are really doing well. A lot of jobs, and at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. But there were some very important things that I thought he pointed out as well in the State of the Union tonight. You know, namely, you know, personally for me, I thought that him emphasizing school choice was a big deal now. You know, we'll see um, what efforts he makes to follow through on that. But, you know, as it stands, pretty much everything Donald Trump ran on, he has either accomplished or made, you know, valiant efforts to accomplish, although he's been very hindered by the Democrats and the left. To me, he mentioned 1 million private school grants. And for somebody like me, I'm a blue collar worker. You know, I do construction, and I've really been contemplating lately taking my kids out of public school. And you know, a lot of conservative, especially Christians, believe that their children shouldn't even go to public school. And you know, I was kind of indifferent to it because I feel like most of the education and the most important part of education that a child will ever get comes from the home. So I've been doing a pretty good job there, but it just got to a point since Common Core has been instated, and put into law in this country, it's getting to a point where you can't even help a fourth grader with his math homework anymore. That's scary to me, especially in light of the fact that every world dictator who had nefarious intentions for his people or the people of the country under the dictatorship knows that you take the minds of the children first, and over time you can have the country. And so I really been thinking about taking my kids out of private school, out of public school. So $1 million private school grants, is something that he's proposing. That's a big deal for me. Um, yeah, I was glad to hear about that. And I noticed that Donald Trump really did a lot of things to try and get black voter attention. This lady Stephanie and Janiyah Davis, um, he's offering this little girl school choice essentially right at the State of the Union, and I noticed that he put a lot of black faces at the forefront, and I don't think that's a bad thing, even if it is just politics. It's what you need to do. If Donald Trump didn't do anything to garner the black vote, I would consider him a bad presidential candidate. Because you're running a campaign for president of the United States, you need to try to garner the votes of all demographics. And Hillary Clinton should have known that when she decided to not even campaign in the flyover states. We see how much that cost her. So yeah, with black unemployment and just black overall general well-being being what it is since Donald Trump was elected, it's now time to drive home the point of I am for the black voter. He needs to show our people that he's making strides to just to cater to some of the things that bother us, that we hold near and dear. And he's got this black lady and her daughter. I don't know if the lady was a single mom or not, but offering her school choice at the State of the Union, to me, that's good politics. That's a good touch. He also put the spotlight on Senator Tim Scott. And I just want to say, in Black History Month, we got to talk about Senator Tim Scott. I mean, what he did, helping to author the new Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that lowered the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21% and flooded this country with jobs, over 7 million jobs. That just can't be overstated. And I think people like to gloss over it, but that's a black man, and he's a Republican, and he helped change the course of history in this country, so he must be recognized in this country. I applaud you, Senator Tim Scott.
My nigga.
Not enough of us know his name. Donald Trump also mentioned vocational training, trying to get that put back in high schools. And I mean, that's a really big deal because, you can tell that he kind of wants schools to be as they were back in the 70s and the 60s. And I'm speaking in terms of how well the educational system was back then, because you had more school choice, you had less government involvement in schools, and a lot of the tone was set by these teachers and school officials like principals and superintendents who were people of faith. And so, that would carry over in the schools, and you had less school shootings, less violence. I mean, once they got the whole segregation thing out of the way, this country was doing very well academically. And subsequently, most of the people who went to school in that area are standing alone in terms of leading this country on the right path. I mean, I think there's a direct correlation. So yeah, vocational training, that's good in high schools, man, because we need more people working with their hands. We don't need more basketball stars and rap stars and country music stars and things of that nature. We need people who think, and we need people who are well educated, and we need the people who are going to be building this country. And the people who build this country are the tradesmen, the people who do construction, the mechanics, people like that, the people who keep this country running. We need more blue collar training and more bodies in the blue collar fields, because we are the driving force of this country. That cannot be disputed. The middle class is what drives this country, and those blue collar vocational training type jobs are what's going to keep us fortified in America in terms of just overall economics and jobs and allowing this country to thrive. What I also noticed is that Trump gave a huge middle finger just really quick to terrorism. I mean, he flat out said that if you take the lives of our American citizens, you forfeit your life. Or if you attack American citizens, he just straight up said if you attack American citizens, you forfeit your life. And he's shown that, how he's been responding to these terrorist attacks and people just attacking our embassies and our land and other countries and overseas. He's been real patient with them and very strategic. And for him to say these things at the State of the Union, it just kind of drives home once again. Like he doesn't want war, but you're not gonna attack the American citizen. You're not gonna take American lives, and you're not gonna make us look bad because we're gonna set you straight. And he just put it out there real briefly, but he was very stern. And that whole peace through strength idea is really working for Trump. He's being regarded as one of the most conservative presidents since Reagan, and you can tell, especially with him mentioning the new trade agreements and everything. He wants to put America first, and he wants to keep the American people safe, and he does not want war, but he ain't afraid to send them tanks if folks want to try and take American lives. And that, as an American, just makes me proud. I'm glad to see that. Now, we noticed that when he delivered the hard copy of his speech to the vice president and to the Speaker of the House, he didn't shake Nancy Pelosi's hand. And people are making a big deal about that. I think that was a great gesture. And I'll tell you why. Because, when you shake somebody's hand, that shows that you have some type of respect and agreement. And there is no respect for a traitor. I mean, let's make no bones about it. What Nancy Pelosi wants is to take the best president that we've had in decades, who's doing a phenomenal job and has this economy booming at an all-time rate, and just people are back to work. We have peace through strength with our enemies. We're not being attacked, and if we are being attacked, we're nipping it right in the bud right away. Our relations overseas has been strengthened. The trade is doing very well. Things are going well. And what Nancy Pelosi wants is to impeach this president and she wants to usher in socialism. And that is a traitor, especially when you factor in the means by which they're doing it. Have you really watched the impeachment process? Because if you have, then you know certainly that they are out of order. They are doing this thing out of order. They rushed the impeachment process. They tried to get it done before a set time so they can go on a little stupid vacation. I'm surprised that Nancy Pelosi even offered him to speak at the State of the Union, but I guess she realized that would have kind of been political suicide. But the articles of impeachment are improper. There are no criminal elements to them, and she just wants him out of there so they can usher in socialism. That's what they've been trying to do since day one, since January 2017 when the man started his presidency. They've just worked only to get him out of there. And so why would you shake the hand of a traitor? I mean, somebody who's actively staging a coup against you as we speak. You're going to shake that person's hand at the State of the Union? No. No. There is a divide between Americans, and it's Americans who want to keep their jobs and who want to adhere to the Constitution and let America be the America that we know it to be. And then you have socialists, people who want to usher in socialism, people who want to stifle free speech and take away our guns and give us more regulation and give us more government control. And that's just the basis of it. And I think it is a very righteous point of contention. As Americans and as patriots, we need to we need to stand hard against it. And I appreciate the president not shaking her hand. She didn't stand when Soleimani was mentioned, the killing of Soleimani was mentioned, because she couldn't stand. You can't stand when this man is killed and the next thing you do is poo-poo the whole operation and say how they should have contacted you about it so you could put out information and leak the information and stop the whole operation from happening. And also then you take it another step to put forth a resolution to restrict the president's war powers even further so he can't make another attack like this. So she couldn't stand. That's why she didn't stand. But she did stand when al-Baghdadi was mentioned. For whatever reason, it's just these Democrats are not consistent. And of course the Democrats didn't clap when Stephanie and Janiyah Davis were offered school choice, because they don't want it. They don't want school choice. They want the government's hand all over the public schools so they can continue to push their LGBT agenda. But again, these points that he made with regards to school choice, enhancing the educational system within the schools, giving a middle finger to terrorism, and his remarks with regards to illegal immigration, I thought were the highlights of the State of the Union. And it was a decent speech, you know. But now we go back to winning, because that's what we do as Americans. I'm Isaiah Gates, and you've been watching the Subway Train, the modern Underground Railroad.
Doors closing.